11/11. It's Veterans Day. I mentioned this in my burpee appearance earlier today. Big thank you for the veterans that served the country, served us, served the countrymen as well as the country. Um, my father was a Navy veteran, fought in the, served in the last part of World War II. He was 17 years old. He got out of high school early so that he could join up, and he was on a minesweep in the South Pacific during a very dangerous time when um, Japan at the time knew the war was basically over, and they were planning a large kamikaze action to basically a losing gambit, knowing that it was over, to just take out as many people as possible. So, bit concerning for my father, as well. You know what? You're on a minesweep. Who knows what could happen? And Milka, those who come here and visit and chat with me on the chat know Milka. She served 23 plus years in the Air Force. She did a tour in Iraq in 2008, I believe, 2008 to 2009. So I have some veterans in my family. And again, a big thank you, not just to them, but to all the veterans that served throughout history. Some of my best friends in the running community were in the Marine Corps. So, speaking of service, speaking of serving, I sometimes think that I should use my platform here, such as it is, to talk more about recovery from drinking or drugs, whatever the addiction might be, as well as addressing certain issues like depression and anxiety, panic attacks, which for the longest time, anxiety and panic attacks, even depression, was hard for me to talk about because it was difficult for me to imagine with anxiety, stress, and the panic attacks actually. I suffered for quite some time without actually knowing that I was going through anxiety. It was apparent as a physical issue for me. That difficulty breathing, of course, sudden overheating in the middle of the night, where I had to, no matter how cold it might be, throw the covers off, and I couldn't lie still, bolt up in bed. Literally, every time I'd lie down, I would just, something would seize me and I'd have to stand up. I would do laps up and down my steps all night long. During the time my father was still alive, I would try to do so as quietly as possible, because if you knew my father, if he heard me, even though I was his caregiver, if he heard me going up and down the steps, he would have been concerned. He would have gotten up to see what he could do for me, even though he was 92, 93 at the time, and suffering himself. So I had to go through that alone. I had to go through that quietly. It was only later that I realized what it was. And it was hard for me, again, to go through as a long-term yoga practitioner, as a long-term meditator. We're talking decades plus, going on 30 years at the time that began to happen, if not over 30 years. And I talked to people. I taught people meditation to overcome anxiety, to overcome all the stuff that I was suffering from. So how could I admit, here I am? But you know what? the only way through something is to go through something. Is to admit that you're going through it. Is to be open and honest, not just with others, but with yourself. And that's when things finally began to get a little better, because I had a name for it. Now, a lot of stuff, a misdiagnosis with a breathing issue, misaligned jaw that was causing me a lot of pain, still causes me a lot of pain. Less so now than before, but still an issue. Keeping my father safe during COVID as his caregiver. It was just a difficult time. Worried about some family members who were engaging in what I thought was some irresponsible behavior that might affect my father, might affect me, would certainly affect him. Difficult time. But again, once you know what you're dealing with, here's one of the things in yoga psychology. They talk about the kleshas. The kleshas are the levels of issues that we deal with that keep us from being happy. Our aversions, things that we push away, refuse to accept, and the depression and the anxiety and the panic attacks were all aversions. You could look at it and think, of course they're aversion. Who wants that? That wasn't the issue. It was the refusal of even considering what I was suffering through. I was adding suffering on top of the suffering by the refusal. One of the other kleshas is attraction, always going towards something, never being satisfied with where you are right now. And then the big one is advijja, which is ignorance, not knowing what we don't know, and going through life reacting to those patterns. I was going through life reacting to the anxiety without even realizing what I was reacting to. I was going through aversions with anxiety without even realizing what I was adverse to. I was adding suffering on top of my suffering. The cure, according to yogic psychology, to ignorance is awareness. The cure to all of that, to your aversions and your attractions, is just being aware. Not even talking about an action plan yet, just being aware. And then things start to change. Bring an awareness to it. So just becoming aware of my anxiety, things immediately lessened just a bit, just a little bit. But then I could start making more drastic plans. I could start an action plan through that awareness. Knowing what I know, the ignorance had lifted just the veil, just a little bit of the veil, just enough, shining that light of awareness through. So, overall, I'm a lot better. And it helps to talk about, not just me, but it helps other people know that, you know what, you could be an advanced yogi. Not that I'm considering myself an advanced yogi, but you could be a long-time yoga practitioner, a long-time meditator, a long-time practice of all kinds of modalities that are bring you closer to inner peace. You can actually have a large degree of inner peace, and still your body is going to react in anxiety if you're not being completely aware of everything that's going on. And it only takes one little strand that goes awry, right? One little strand gone awry, and your life unravels. It helps to be able to see that as quickly as possible. Of course, you're not going to see it instantaneously, although keep meditating, keep doing yoga, you see it quicker and quicker and quicker. For me, actually, my yoga practice and my meditation was almost a double-edged sword. It's a bit of a paradox, actually, in that um, it prevented me from seeing that because I didn't want to see it. Again, how could I admit the things that I was suffering from? I was also practicing the antidote for. But, once you know, and then everything begins to change. So, again, I think I should use the platform a little bit more to talk about things like that, to talk about, how the benefit of what we're doing fitness-wise isn't just a stronger heart, isn't just a more efficient cardio system. It's mental health. Burpees is psychological. So is running, so is walking. So is, and here's my friend Destiny Forever Walks PhD, so is dancing on a treadmill. It is as much psychological as it is exercise. Because if you watch Destiny dance on the treadmill, you are seeing a deep, deep joy. You are seeing a mental health practitioner in action. Someone who knows the value of movement and music. Dancing isn't just physical. It is great physical. It's a great physical exercise, but it lifts the spirit. It lifts the mood. It produces the dopamine in the mind that makes us happy, beyond happy. Happiness can come and go. Happiness is when someone gives you a gift, and then happiness is when you open it and the gift, or unhappiness is when you open it and the gift is broken. Happiness, it's dependent. But joy depends only upon itself. It's ever present. It's who and what we are when we reach that realization that our true happiness, our true joy is unwavering, independent. Abraham Maslow, when he talked about someone being self-aware, a fully actualized person, actualized was the word that he used for enlightenment, that a awakened, actualized person is independent of the good opinion of others. That's joy. Joy is independent of not just the good opinion of others, but is independent of all the comings and goings in the world. So, that realization was incredibly helpful for me, going through the anxiety, going through the panic attacks, ongoing battles with, I say battles because of language, the limits of language. I don't battle depression. I don't suffer through depression. Depression happens. And I've gotten into a place in my life where I can be the observer of depression, even as it is coursing through my life. That makes sense. And if it doesn't, and someone watches this, ask me a question and I'll do my best to try to explain it. Destiny says, yes, it is, and I had to learn that through doing things that did not please mind, body, and soul. Now I'm living my joy and being me. Thanks, Eric. You're welcome, and thank you. It's an important lesson, and boy, it takes some time to get to, doesn't it? It would be nice to be where we are now when we were 20. It would be awesome to be where we are now when we were in middle school or high school. Because you know what? I do not envy kids in middle school or high school any longer. It can often be brutal. You know, we can look back and say they were some of the happiest times of our lives. And some of the times they were. But so much confusion, so much pain, so much just not knowing what's going on in the world. I don't know. And I think it's even worse now. I think there's a level of anxiety that hangs over kids at a younger age from school shooting and climate change and COVID with more to come, more pandemics promise in the future. It will be hard not to have that sort of low level depression hanging through all of us, which is why I firmly believe that the practice and teaching of some form of meditation, um, I think if children are called to prayer in school, I'm not saying that schools should offer prayer because I do believe this, should be somewhat of separation. However, if a child has a practice of silent prayer and it is helpful for them, there should be a quiet spot in time where a child can be free to practice that. Destiny says, great knowledge and wisdom you're sharing. I love your message because it makes my inner child, it awakens my inner child and begins a healing process, something like that. Thank you. And that's what I started with this afternoon when I started talking about more ways of using this platform. Man, we're really gifted with YouTube. We're gifted with social media. It, it can be a place of some bad things. It can be a place of some awkwardness. It can be certainly a place of bullying. We've seen people come here and try to troll me, which is ridiculous, again. But they are by far the minority. Look at the relationships, friendships, the deep conversations I'm able to have with people that I never would have had I not just decided at one time, man, this guy's doing burpees and putting it up there or having a good time, and I want to join in. Had I not seen the support and happiness that Destiny brought to the great artist, the Jay Jordan, let's backtrack a little bit. Had I not seen the Jay Jordan on Reverend Terminator's channel and the support and love that Reverend Terminator puts out there for others in the community and highlighting the Jay Jordan and then visiting his and seeing the fearlessness of him putting his artwork out there, sharing it openly, wholesomely, wholeheartedly, and then seeing the support and commitment that Destiny Forever Walks was showing to Jay Jordan and visiting her channel and seeing the joy that she was expressing through her treadmill dancing and her rope jumping and her talks. Man, what a community. What a platform that we can get on here, that I can get on here and point a cheap cell phone. It's a smartphone, but it's not the smartest. And I can point it at me and just have a conversation about a long time yoga practitioner, decades, 3 decades at least, meditation practicer and teacher, breathwork instructor, who still went through a dark period of anxiety and panic attacks. If I can reach one person and they say, wow, they needed to hear that. Or when I shared some of my writings, if one person came on one of those YouTube shorts and said, you know what, that's not very good. That's not really good writing. I bet you I could do better. You know what? God bless you. I hope you can do better. And I hope you try. And I hope you do. And I hope you put it out there. And if you do, I will be there. If I see it, let me know if you do. And I'll give you wholehearted support. You don't need to be great. I don't even need to be very good. I just need to express myself, and I love doing it. And I've been doing it for decades. I write every single day. And more importantly, I write when I'm inspired. And that's the important thing. Every day I'm inspired. You know why? Because I'm alive. Because I simply exist. If you want to be inspired, just realize the odds of you even existing are astronomical. If we were betting, if we were in a casino of existence, no one would take those odds of you existing. And yet, here you are. You're existing, and you're existing in a perfect environment for you to do so. An atmosphere that is perfectly balanced for you to take a breath. The fact that we have trees that act as a secondary lung, cleaning the air for us, and that when we breathe out, we're literally feeding the trees back. We're expressing gratefulness every single breath we take. Destiny says, yes, I have seen this type of people come to your channel and try to discredit you. They can't touch you or even hurt you because you are living the truth and you know who you are, Eric. We got you back. I appreciate hearing that. And you know what? I agree. They can't touch me. And the main reason, because it's all funny. It's nothing. It's, why would I let someone using select words affect my innermost being? It doesn't touch that. Can't even come close to touching that. I've talked before about the lessons from Douglas Harding, who discovered what he called the headless way, his own headlessness, his own emptiness. And as he said, he doesn't see his face, he doesn't see his head. Where he points, there's absolutely nothing. When he needs to see a head or a face, he can look at someone else. And the space that he offers here is space for their being. The space that they offer there is space for his being. So, it all goes back to, I think it was Terry Cole Whitaker. He wrote a book in the 1970s. I never read the book. I think I might have it, but I never read it. It's a wonderful title. What you think of me is none of my business. So what you think about me, what you say about me, it's absolutely none of my business. That's you. That's for you to deal with. And if you have that kind of unhappiness within you that you need to express it out towards me, which is fine because I can take it, but I feel bad that you have that. So if you come here and you try to give it to me, for one, I'm not going to take it. For two, I'm going to do my best to help lift you of that burden, if I'm at all able to. Destiny says, yes, I do agree with that about trees. Yes, you and I and the burpee artist, the ring artist formerly known as Barefoot Burpees, now Hybrid Gym, and Duncan had a wonderful talk here about trees. I could do a whole, probably hour-long talk just talking about trees, what they bring to my life, what we give back to them, the value that we have in the world, my fear of the abuse that we're heaping upon the environment that the trees are not going to be able to cope with. Definitely love talking about trees. One of my healing modalities is getting out in nature as often as possible, at least twice a day, early in the morning before the sun comes up. I love that solitude. I love just being out there. I love being in the dark. I'm very reluctant to shine my little handheld flashlight, only if I need to, because I don't want to disturb the animals that are thriving in the dark. I'm not there to intrude. I'm not there to make my way known to them. I'm there to be accepted. And to do that, I need to do that on nature's terms. not on mine. That brings me back to my true and original nature. And I mentioned before the importance of getting out there and getting that early light to meet the eyes. Because the early light, and it has to be sunlight, and it should be as early as possible. When it meets the eyes, it sets off a chemical reaction, a hormonal reaction in the body, producing the stress hormones that we need to begin our day and to thrive. Remember, stress itself isn't a problem. How we handle stress is a problem. When we naturally produce the right amount of stress hormones, our day runs smoothly. We meet actions, we meet situations, we meet predicaments with the right attitude. And then later in the day, those same stress hormones, cortisol, norepinephrine, the other, and I can't remember, they begin to die off, and in the waste left from that, the body produces serotonin and melatonin to help de-stress and sleep later in the day. All from getting that first light, first thing in the morning, not to mention the healing qualities of trees and woods and grass and the animals. The fractals. We thrive in a fractal environment because we're made of fractals. Destiny says, oh yeah, I could too. I long to be very near trees, to trees. I like talking to the trees, hugging and listening to the vibrations. This is where I get my energy. I do as well. As a matter of fact, my second walk for today, Mocha actually put her hands on a very tall black walnut tree, very tall and straight black walnut tree, just absorbing that energy, giving energy back. Remember, all things thrive from that continuous energy going back and forth. We don't just take energy from trees, we're giving energy back. It's all recycled. It's the same with the breath. We breathe in the cleansing air that the trees give us, and we breathe out, and they take the carbon dioxide, or is it carbon monoxide? I believe it's dioxide. I could be wrong. I get my oxides and my dioxide and oxides mixed up. Dioxide and monoxides. So we know it's one of the two. That's the thing with nature. It's funny that we can see that with trees, and yet we miss that with everything else. We miss it with other animals, and we miss it with people. That I can only thrive, I can only truly, truly thrive if I'm helping to reduce the suffering of other people. I can't thrive while others suffer. None of us can. That's how connected we are. It's not even that we're connected, it's that we're one thing being expressed has different aspects. So if any aspect of one thing is suffering, the whole suffers. The beautiful, beautiful poem, John Donne, and I'm going to Google it up because it's so beautiful. For Whom the Bell Tolls. We all know the lines, but Destiny says oxide. Thank you. I appreciate that. For Whom the Bell Tolls. We all know the lines. We all know that line, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Let's see. Sorry for the radio silence. It's such a beautiful poem that, sorry, No Man is an Island is the actual name of the poem. For Whom the Bell Tolls is a novel, Ernest Hemingway. who I think wrote beautiful prose. I love his writing style, and it actually inspired me to not be so um, wordy, to be a little more concise and direct in my writing. Um, and that's what I try to do. I don't want to use 3 words when one would suffice. Reminds me of Thoreau's letter to Emerson when he talked about simplify, 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 to which Emerson wrote back, I think one simplify would suffice. That's what I try to get to in my own writing. And Hemingway really did that well. However, I'm not a Hemingway fan. The writing itself is beautiful, and I like the style. I just, for whatever reason, Hemingway doesn't quite do it for me. Some of his short stories, yeah, but overall. So I meandered in a whole different literary direction. Let's get back to No Man is an Island and why I love it. Because it is the interbeing of everything. He is the intertwined, a beautiful expression, a very Zen Buddhist expression, intertwined. It expresses how we can't be truly happy if there's anyone in the world still suffering. We can't glorify in the food we eat if there are children or their parents and their parents starving. We can thrive in a world that is being threatened in any way, environmentally or by war or by anything. We can't truly, here's the paradox, we can't truly be at peace until the world is peaceful, and yet, and again, here's the paradox, the world will never be peaceful until we ourselves achieve a degree of inner peace. It all starts with you. With your finding your inner peace, and then you're able to give it away. You're able to spread it. Maybe just a smile, maybe a YouTube talk, maybe dancing on a treadmill, maybe sharing your music, maybe telling a story, maybe writing a poem. Who knows? Try it. Just that little action and see the difference it makes in the world. Ripple effect. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi called it people called it after him, the Maharishi effect. That if a small portion of a population, 1%, meditated, then the entire area would have the benefits of that meditation. So if 1% of a city meditated, crime rate in that city would go down, be reduced. Imagine if more than 1%. Imagine if 10%. Why imagine? Start meditating. Give it a try. Here's what will happen. You will be happier. You will be more joyful. You will be more at peace. What's the downside? So, John Donne. I've always loved this poem. Before he even knew what it meant, I loved this poem. No man is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a cloud be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less. As well as if a promontory were, as well as if a manners of thy friends, or thine own were. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. Here's a couple key lines. We won't go over the whole thing. Gonna go over a couple key lines, and we'll call it a day for today. No man is an island, entire of itself. means you're not isolated. You're not an island of one person standing defiant against the world. We love to think that way sometimes. It's me against the world. It's us against the world. Us against them. There is no us. There is no them. It's everything. Everything. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. Every man is part of the main. And then, closing. Any man's death diminishes me. Here's my favorite line. Because I am involved in mankind. I am involved in mankind. So much so. So deeply so. It's just life. I'm not a separate part of life. I am life. You are life. We are life. Sat Chit Ananda, as they would say in Sanskrit. So, because I am involved in mankind. Destiny says, I love that poem too. No man is an island. We all need each other and we are all connected. No one is self-sufficient. Everyone relies on that, on others. I agree 100%. President Obama tried to make that point, and boy, he was torn apart by the press when he said, you didn't build that alone. And of course, everyone loves to claim, yes, I did. I got a loan from the bank and built this up by myself. You got a loan from the bank. The roads were there to bring you your supplies. Everything we do is interdependent upon someone else. That's the way it's supposed to be. And that's the wonderful thing about life, that we are co-conspirators going through life together. It was a beautiful message that he was offering, and it's just a shame that it was taken the way that it was. And of course, it was taken the way it was in order to diminish the man. It didn't do it. He was not diminished in the least. But his point was lost among many people who needed to hear that message. All right, guys. So with that, let's call it a day. Destiny, I appreciate you being part of the conversation. You're a valuable part of the conversation that I'm having now, that I've had in the past, and that I hope to have in the future. Destiny says that's awesome the way you express it, Eric. Thank you. I'm certainly inspired by the dignity of Obama and the fact that he just wanted to serve. That, you know, I remember him being heckled and the audience booing, and he would say, no, don't boo. Everyone has a valid opinion and they can express it. Doesn't mean you have to like it, but we support their right to say what they say. Beautiful man. So, whether you like politics or not, whether or not you have a different politic than him or from me or from anyone else, it doesn't matter. You gotta appreciate, or you should, or I hope you do, appreciate someone who can do that. Destiny says, thanks for the great discussion and always the wisdom and knowledge. I enjoy our fellowship. I do as well. Thank you and enjoy your day. And you enjoy your day as well. And hey, Destiny, if you ever have some favorite poems that I haven't mentioned, leave a reply and leave them in a reply, and I'll look them up, and during one of our talks, I'll read it, and then we can trade the meaning that we get from it back and forth. I would absolutely love to do that. That's the same with anyone who might watch this or watch it later. Leave a favorite line or favorite poem or favorite song. We'll Google it up and we'll talk about it together. What inspires you is of great interest. to me. So I would absolutely love to hear it and to share in that inspiration. Destiny says, I will. My favorite by Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. And that is a favorite of mine too. I'm going to, I always have several little notebooks at my desk and at my ready. I'm going to write that down. And then maybe tomorrow. And the great thing doing this with poetry, it leads in so many different directions. Like a couple weeks ago when we were reading Rumi, and it led to Hafiz and other poets as well. So who knows where Robert Frost is going to take us? Let's find out tomorrow. Thank you, Destiny. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning for burpees, and then we'll come back and we'll talk some more. Take care, guys.